Is this thing on?
Is this mic on? Can we make sure this mic is on?
All right, so this is take 2 of Is This Thing On episode, and if you watched the intro, you just saw that we recorded an entire episode and never cut this thing on, this thing right here, that actually captures all this thing.
So this thing wasn't on, but now it is.
These things were on, but these things weren't on. So now we're on, and we're going to reshoot this episode.
We should just keep the same episode and put circus music to it. Just fast forward it. Just let it go.
Oh, man. So, we are here with head coach Scotti Sentes from Campbell University's wrestling team. And you're not new to the program. You're definitely not new to wrestling. So, for those of our viewers, and maybe even Addison, who doesn't know you that well, give us a little bit about who you are, how you got here, and how long you've been here.
Yeah, so in 2013, I graduated college where I met my wife. I had my son. And the first thing we did is we moved out to California. And in that time, we went to a kind of a struggling wrestling program. And, since we're talking media, a big part of what I did there was really to try to attack, media there in terms of, the percentage increase on each of the platforms. In that time, I was just getting on to Twitter, which is now X. Instagram wrestling was just sort of starting to tap into Instagram. I think TikTok had just started coming out towards the end of my time there. And so I was there for a couple years, 3 years. After that, I came down here, been here ever since. Last 3 years as head coach, before that, associate head, before that, head assistant. So just sort of worked my way up here. And, we really, really did a lot of focus on the marketing side of things in that time. Gone through some different employees, and it's just been a lot of fun sort of seeing the program build and the marketing side of things build.
What part of California were you in?
San Luis Obispo, the best part, right there in the central west coast, midway between L.A. and San Francisco. It was amazing. It was a beautiful place.
I was in Manteca, Lodi for about 10 years, so
nice.
I wasn't that far, but I'm sure you had much better weather than I did. It just got hot out there.
Yeah.
And Scotti, we won't go into this, and we didn't go into it on the first episode with Scotti Sentes we just shot 5 minutes ago, but Florida man, that's a true Florida man story right there. Like his stories from growing up, dude. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
At a different
my dad's
time.
a redneck. I'm not a redneck, but my dad's a redneck.
Dude, so many funny stories. So many funny stories. We won't get into that. But no, I had the pleasure, and we've talked about it on other episodes where, y'all were one of my favorite clients I've had to date. And so I've just been, look, that's how busy he is. Look, just phone calls right in the middle. You can go and answer it.
An emergency or no? Hello?
He's not only a coach, he's also a father and a husband.
Let go to the bathroom or pee food.
And they got a new puppy. That's what it is.
Golden Retriever.
Uh-huh.
That's fine. Let him cry. It's a puppy. All right, bye. We just... Sorry. Long story short. So we had a dog for a long time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was an old dog when we got him already. He was like a breeding dog. And that dog got cancer. And it was a big part of the family. Like, we've had this dog. And it was like my wife's shadow. And got cancer. I took him in. I was actually going to bring him back. And the cancer was so bad that he, like, died right there, like, while I was petting him. Like, it was really bad. And so my wife's and my family, they're all animal people. Like, I would say I'm the least animal person in my family, but they, like, my kids love it. I have 2 daughters. I have a son. They love the animal. And so I was like, I'm going to get him over this. I'm just going to get a cat. Take him into the pound, and we end up getting a cat. And the cat that they picked, I'm like, get any cat you want, right? They picked this cat. It's got a cone on it. It had, like, missing hair. I'm like, oh God. I go, is this the one we're really going to pick? I take this cat home. My son's home with this cat alone. Day one. And they told us there were some problems with this cat, but this is the cat they wanted. I take it home. Well, my son's calling me, and it's during practice. The cat was having, like, convulsions. And basically it was like it died, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like we had just lost a pet. Then we just lost a cat. And so now a couple weeks, like some time, a month and a half or 2 months have passed or whatever. So we finally just got a new puppy. So that was my son calling me. I'm like, I better answer this just in case,
clue.
you know.
No, that's fine, man. And this thing, we don't care.
We're good.
Like we'll be filming our first episode. We were filming. He had a customer walk in the shop to order a tea, and they're like looking at the window, like, sorry. We're like, nah, it's cool. We'll be right back. You know. So we were able to just plug a little episode in. But no, what I wanted to kind of get you to touch on, and the reason we were kind of want to talk to you more is, you've had the pleasure of working with a couple different videographers at different levels of their careers. They were all different, including me, different styles, different backgrounds, all that. So kind of walk us through like not really your selection of what videographer you chose to go with, but the ones that you have worked with, how have they been different? How have they helped the program? And because now you don't have one currently, and we all see the struggle that you're facing on social media of not having that quality content and engagement that you're missing. So kind of what's that experience been like, and kind of how have they been different?
Yeah, so I would say, you know, as an assistant here, I knew the importance of social media. We got lucky. We had another assistant named Garrett Kiley, really started branding the program. And before we got here, like the brand of Campbell Wrestling was terrible. Right, yeah. Like we were getting our butts kicked. Mm-hmm. We weren't very good. But we started getting really good, and we probably looked a lot better than we were because we were marketing it that way. And as it was marketed better, we would get better recruits. It was just really helping us start to perform at a higher level by getting higher level guys, getting more donations from alumni, because we'd marketed ourselves as better than we were at that time.
Right.
And we realized the importance in it, so we really started to invest in it. So we went from having a guy named Garrett Kiley, who's now the associate head coach at Northern Colorado. These are us coaches that don't really know how to do anything. Like I think he used to have his wife making graphics for these events, but we knew the importance of it, so we spent time really learning how to do it. And sometimes they would sacrifice some of the coaching we were doing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know,
you got to give something somewhere.
Yeah. There had to be some give, and we just weren't in a place where we could have a media guy or convince the leadership at that time that media was important. And as we started having more success, we went from having a 4-17, some crazy losing record, to winning the conference championship, having the program's first ever NCAA All-American. The university started understanding, oh, well, yeah, marketing is helping you guys, right? That is important. And so we hired our first, true wrestling-only marketing person. And athletics has a marketing department, but let's face it, there's not enough people to go around. There's not. They're doing their best, and they're hustling, and they're working. And
there's not.
But there's just not enough, right? We're not in season, and other sports aren't in season. It doesn't make sense for them to put their time into here because there's
I was going to say, too, I saw before Brooke left, I saw like some of the scope of work that she would send these head coaches to these different athletic departments. And like, this is what the media team here is going to provide you. And I'm like reading through this thing. And I'm like, this is just one team.
Yeah.
You were sending this to all these coaches? Like, how are you providing this? Like, I don't even know how you're doing it. How do you have the manpower? And they didn't, which is why a lot of times some programs get, the short end of the stick. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think like you were smart to say, all right, well, we see the need, we know the need, let's find the money, and let's get our own like in-house somebody that's with us. Like that was smart. That was very smart.
Yeah. So we understood the importance of that. We got a guy named Josiah Risco. He was the man, right? And Josiah was really into analytics. And so he was the first one that we really hired. He at that time he had a YouTube channel called Fanco. So he was just this big wrestling guy who loved wrestling. He was from Pennsylvania. We had that connection through Kerry Colai, who was the head coach at the time, where like there were a lot of people that wanted to kind of attach themselves to this guy because he was such a big name. And we ended up getting this guy named Josiah Risco. And we really saw a lot of improvement in our marketing and our analytics and a huge growth in terms of all our platforms. And that's really what he was about. I would say he probably wouldn't want me to say this, but I would say the brand almost came secondary to the growth. Right, everything with him was about outreach and growing the platforms and getting more eyes on it.
It was on brand, but more so focused on.
Yeah, more focused on that, and he did a lot of really cool things. He was just experimenting, and
the production value went up in your content.
Everything was way better. Right, our recruiting, improved tenfold. We got way better recruits. Our fundraising grew rapidly. We had more people involved and interested in our program. We're drawing in new donors because of the marketing that we had from him. And he was with us for a good amount of time, all the way from when I was an assistant to, my first year or two as a head coach. He was with us, and he did great, and really grew all our platforms. After that, he ended up getting a job. Basically works with some YouTube creators, some major ones. He does the analytics for them, of all things. It makes total sense.
And that's how it goes. You start with the client, and then another client finds you, and you keep growing that ladder.
And we were happy for him. I mean, the dude's doing extremely well. Just got married this past year, and he's working with guys like Mr. Beast, the same organization that Mr. Beast is under. I'm not really a YouTube guy, but right. He's in there. Mr. Beast is a big name. My son knows him, right? So he works with a lot of these huge YouTube content creators, when to post, what time to post, what the thumbnail looks like. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but that's what he does for a living, and he does a great job of it. So at that time, we're like, man, we know this is an important position now. We got to keep it filled. Let's find somebody that has some really cool strengths, and what we do is we would just go and look at people's content, and a lot of times it's not people necessarily reaching out to us. It's us getting online, getting on Google, and then we found our next guy's name's Matt Mims. I literally just saw a high school highlight tape of a random wrestler, and it was a North Carolina kid, and the content was really cool, and I was like, man, that's cool. We can we can do some things with that. I can imagine him being able to market our program and having that feel. And we hired him, and everything with him was like epic. Coming from the top, and trendy. he was a younger guy, really trendy, knew all the good music, the rap music, and things like that. And so, really, what we did is we're like, all right, this is different. And for us in marketing, I always think you want to be different. You want to do things that other programs aren't doing. You don't want to jump in the same lane as them. You want to be a trailblazer in marketing. If you want to be different and you want to connect and hit people differently, you want to be entertaining. You know what's entertaining? Things that are different, right? Nobody cares that you can make a graphic of a wrestling event. Right. I mean, everybody's doing that, right? And it all looks pretty good. It all looks pretty clean. So how can we be different? And we saw this. He had something different. We leaned into that. We had him for a year or two. And then when we lost him, he had better opportunities. We're like, man, how do we quit losing these guys? And so we decided we're just going to try to get a local company to do it, because a company, if it's something local, they're not going anywhere. It's not like an individual. It's really easy for them to jump on the next best thing. And that's what you want for anybody that works with you or collaborates with you.
You want them to grow.
You want them to grow. You want what's best for them. And especially in our business, when they're with us, they're not doing one event for us. They're with us a year. We get to know these guys. And so we hired a guy named Zahn. He had a company. And what he would do is it was the most different thing we've ever done, and we didn't love it, because for us, we love the connection side of things. But what he would do is he would send videographers with us. They would film the events we were at or the content. They would edit it, and then he would go and take that edit and he would put his fingerprint on it. So the reason he did that is because he wanted everything to have the same feel. It didn't want to be like every event your videos look different. You want to develop a brand.
Exactly. Because if you send different videographers, and just to break that down for some of the creators that are watching this, that are kind of figuring out how does that work, because I have a situation where I could potentially send somebody to do work. It was basically, he paid me to go out and shoot. I shot all the B-roll. Before we left, we knew what the coach wanted. He had that meeting with you. Hey, this is what we're going to get. We'll film a Campbell 100 video while we're there, whatever. He relayed that to me. I had all my shot notes and all that stuff. I traveled the team, get everything. I basically do a rough cut edit, lay everything in place how I see it should be laid out, or just pick out all the best highlights from the wrestling event and then send that to him. He's got the music, he puts all the little special effects on it, all that stuff, and I just keep shooting the next day, and we just keep turning those over, which is why it was very easy to have like a 24-hour turnaround on all the content and all that stuff, because it was like I do it, stay up late that one night, and I know the next day I don't have to touch it again. I just get to wake up and start shooting again. So. And
that was perfect, right? And for us, quick turnaround is important. It's a tough job. One of the marketing of a program, an athletics program, it's not like you have this event and then you have a week before you have to put the highlight out of this event. By a week, it's no longer. We're already working on the next weekend's event, because you have an event, sometimes 2 events every weekend. So you have to film, you have to edit. Sometimes it's 2 highlights or interviews and highlights. I mean, it's a grind. Those guys are up late, right? Like, and so yeah, it was a really cool the way that it was structured.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how we met Jake. And for us, like, when you're dealing with athletes, there's a level of comfort that's really important with them, right? They're locked in. They're really focused on being able to compete at a high level, right? The highest level of folk style wrestling is collegiate wrestling. It really is. It's like, this is the NBA for us. This is the NFL or the NHL. This is the highest they can go in this style of wrestling. And the NCAA tournament it's enormous. It's sold out. It's a packed arena, right? And so our number one focus is, how do we get these guys to perform? Our number two focus is probably marketing, right? Because that helps us with alumni, helps us with recruiting. And so it's really important that we bring guys in that behind a camera that our guys are comfortable with, that our guys trust, that our guys can ignore, right? Like they're focused. They don't have to worry that people are already uncomfortable on camera. And so you want somebody that are like, that's just my friend right
I'm
there.
so uncomfortable. I forgot to hit record before we started.
Yeah. Is this mic on?
And I'm professional.
Is this thing on?
And I'm pro. All right, go ahead.
So, anyways, that's how we met you, Jake, right? Jake got hired to travel with us. And I don't know which event it was, but what really stuck out to me is in wrestling, there's a weight management aspect to it. And we're at an event and we're traveling and Jake's in the back with the guys hanging out, and the guys were like, man, we got to go and work out when we get there. I got X amount of weight to lose. And Jake goes, what time are you guys working out? I'll meet you guys there. And he went and worked out with the guys. I thought that was so cool, man. I was like, man, it was like the vibes got to be on in wrestling, right?
Had to get
like,
the travel out.
Yeah, they had to get the travel out of them. And so Jake went and worked out with the guys, and it went so well. And he did a few with us, and our guys always loved him. Is Jake travel with us this week? Because he did a few with us. They would always ask.
Yeah, they got mad if I didn't.
Yeah, they were upset, right? It doesn't mean that other people that travel with us weren't good or not, but they weren't comfortable with them, right? And that's the last thing you want is your athletes to be uncomfortable when they should be focused on training. And so it got to the point where at the NCAA tournament, I had guys coming in and asking me, can you request to have Jake? And I thought that was just remarkable. I was like, what? Right? Like that I thought that was really cool, and I think that said a lot about Jake. And, they didn't really know Zon. I think if you were to bring him in now, some guys might recognize him. Some probably wouldn't. Most probably wouldn't. And Zon did some cool stuff with us. But there's something to be said about having somebody that markets your team or your event that you trust and feel comfortable with, that's like a friend to you. And that always stuck out. And so when Zon's ended up finding out was expecting a child, the timing was perfect for us. We were like, Zon, is it cool if we reach out to Jake, right? Like,
can we have your guy full time?
Yeah, and which he was totally cool with and wanted to help Jake, and it was just perfect storm, right? And
but see, I think that's key to like have, like I say, like I've always told, like I see you as the CEO of a business. So like to have the CEO that sees the need so specific. Like I know I need content. I even know like what I'm kind of looking for as far as like who I want to touch. Like he didn't really understand like I want to do interviews with this type of shot with it. Like that wasn't what he knew, but he knew enough to know like, all right, well I want to touch my donors and I need to give them a lot more insight. And then I went, oh, here's an idea for you. Hey, have you started a podcast? Have you ever done a podcast? No. Well, we could start a podcast and just have that for the donors and really give that nitty gritty, whatever, So there was just like a lot of different things. And I think, like you said, it was almost like a perfect storm how things kind of worked out. Like I was really needing a big client. I didn't want to go from this client, trying to find another client, trying to find another client. And I had a few retainer clients that were wrapping up right around that start time that you were looking for. And so it was just, man, it was perfect. But I think that's the key takeaway for me, for you, is like, it wasn't trial and error because everybody you hired on, y'all benefited some way, and they benefited, which is great. Because if you bring a creator on and they don't benefit in some way, then it's kind of a loss to me. You know what I mean? Like I got a lot of stuff from y'all. You know what I mean? Not to mention like the numbers and some of the analytics. I can go show clients now, like, hey, I worked with these guys. Didn't focus on the numbers really, and this is what we did. We didn't run ads. We didn't do all that stuff. This is just organic collaborations. This is what we did.
And collaboration, I think, is the main thing, right? We meet every Monday, and these are all the audiences we can choose to hit, right?
Yeah.
And so you have that, whether it's recruiting, whether it's alumni, whether it's mentality of the team, right? Our guys are watching these things.
That was our biggest strategy, was collaborate. Like who are we collaborating with this video? And then almost like the creative started to shift towards the end of the season, started to shift. Like, well, if we're collaborating with Wrestlers Grind or whatever, if we're collaborating with this is the type of content that they would like the most and probably get the most. We like it too, so let's create it this style. Like I would almost start to look at like the people we're collaborating with and see what style would would be.
You were the first one doing the collabs. I don't know if the collabs were around.
Zon, I credit that Zon. I knew about collab. I saw it in the app because it had just came out, and Zon was like, "Do you know anything about collaboration?" I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, well, you go in there and you collaborate. NCA is a really good one. This is a really good one, but I haven't done it much.
Yeah, that was a cool little touch.
A great
I'd say for each guy we went through, we knew what we wanted and what we liked, but also we kind of figured out, like, this is what this guy was missing, right? Like, for instance, I had a media guy that man, his content was remarkable. It was amazing. Great shots, cool. But then I'd get it, and it would be like something would be misspelled. So, like, I'd always have to go through and like edit it, right, to make sure something wasn't misspelled, or they put something in, or they forgot to clip out one little shot or whatever. But the content was amazing, but there was that. And I have sometimes at certain parts of the year, I just have so much going on, I don't even want to think about marketing. I just want somebody else to do that for me, right? You know what we like, you know what's important to us. Go run with it. And that's the other thing is you want them to be – they're creatives. They're in marketing for a reason because they're artists, right? Yep. And sometimes you're going to get the most out of them by letting them do their thing and then figuring out what they're good at, what is their thing, how do we lean into that? How do we take that thing that they have, that touch that they bring to the next level? And then it's constantly trying to push them to do that, right, by asking questions, by giving them content ideas that are probably outside of their comfort zone. How can they attack this thing they've never attacked, but do it with their signature on it? Yep. And there's just a long process of figuring out and push in and push back and knowing when to sort of let them jump on their ideas, right?
That's why we push people now. Like now that we have the podcast studio, like now it's like all about those business owners who know they need to do video, they know they need to market, but they don't know how. They don't know how much it'll cost. Like we have a podcast studio right beside your building. For all the businesses downtown Andrew, like there's no reason why you shouldn't be utilizing that space because we can help you come up with the top. All you got to do is sit down and talk about your business. We'll even tell you what you should be talking about based off our conversations with you. You know what I'm saying? Like we could figure out all that stuff for you, and you just got to sit down and talk about you and your business.
And your passion.
Yeah. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like you can sit here and talk wrestling to the battery's down and everything.
I can, but the thing is like when you put me behind a camera, I need somebody to make me look good doing it, right?
Exactly.
Like most people, I'll get filmed, and I'm dealing with this now because they don't know me, right? So I have a marketer that I don't even know their name. They'll come in and they're with the athletic department, and they'll film me, and they'll get a couple shots, and I'll get the edit, and I look like a complete idiot, and I'm like, I just won't use it, right? Like, but when you're with somebody all the time and you get to know them,
that's exactly what I was going to bring up next.
Like, man, I can sound and look like an idiot, but when they edit it, I look freaking awesome, right? I look like I know what I'm talking about. I look professional. The shots are right. The music's the way I want it. If there's a press here or subscribe here button, I know that's going to be on there. And a lot of that's just with relationship and building. And that's why I've always liked Jake, is because I never had to babysit it, right? Like I knew the content he was going to put out was going to be edited. Nothing's going to be misspelled. It's going to be the way that I want it. And I think that there's a lot to be said. I can rest easy at night. I don't want to spend 40 minutes for a 1 minute clip. I really don't. I don't want to. It's not worth it to me.
No.
I want somebody that can meet it completely, slaughter it, do terrible, stutter, and I want them to edit it and make me look good, right? Like that's what I really want, because that saves me time, and I don't get time back, and there's just other places I can put that time that can really benefit.
But that's the beauty
the
too of having somebody, and why we also preach is like those same businesses were like do a podcast. This is the easiest way to create consistent content. And you sit here for 30 minutes and you get 15 pieces of content and one long form piece of content. Like, what business couldn't benefit from that? What business owner couldn't benefit from that?
And every week that goes by, every time you work with the same person,
you start to learn, and
you start to learn how to push them to new levels.
We didn't have to do a bunch of retakes because I already knew what you were looking for. I already know where you're going to mess up. I already know what's going to make you uncomfortable.
Not that you mess up.
Yeah,
dude. He really
not
don't.
that you,
bro. He really don't.
Oh,
like he's
He says that. It's terrible.
Dude, he's the guy, I'm telling you.
Yeah, if you were to see the edit, don't ever put an unedited thing out and we'll be good. People keep thinking
I'm like,
that.
Scotty, I'm like, you want to say anything after this match? He's like, you think I should? I'm like, yeah, you definitely should. All right, I'll say something. I put the mic on. I'm like, all right, whenever you're ready. Hey, so we had a great match. And
I got
he
better.
stops at 1 minute exactly, bro.
We got better.
And
got better.
I don't even have to make a cut.
Yeah.
Like, this is it.
But that's the thing is, I do think that there's something to be said of working with somebody consistently, of getting to know somebody, because they understand the style, they know how to edit the way you want, they know how to attack.
There's that
things.
other piece that
but there's that piece of comfort. Look, let's be honest. Let's say you're making this epic event and you want these cool shots. Well, that's going to take some heavy duty equipment, right? That's going to take a big mic like this. It's going to take a big camera, and those make most people uncomfortable. Those make me uncomfortable.
Right.
Those make people that deal with them every day uncomfortable. So you want to feel comfortable with the guy behind the lens, right? Because people think oh, I'm just going to go unnoticed. No, they're going to notice you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They just got to be comfortable with you. They got to trust you. They got to know that it's okay, and that way they can focus on running their event or running their program or whatever it is that they're shooting.
Well, and I'll say too, it's hard on the creator side too. Like think about if you had a client come in and just be like, "Hey, we want to shoot one episode in podcast, see what podcasting's like." You immediately would be like, "You're not going to get that from doing one. You might. What if you hated it? But I promise you, if you do another one, you'll probably like it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, that's why I tell people, try to stay away from the one-off videos. If you need a branding video for your business, let's figure out in your budget how we can get a branding video and all these extra videos that are meeting some of your pain points. If recruiting is your pain point, let's stop talking to the donors. Let's talk to the recruits. Who's the recruits? Your 17 to 19-year-old. I don't know, 17 to 20-year-old. So what do we need to create about that? Was it you sitting down talking? Probably not. Is it one of the guys talking? Is it a fun video that shows the culture of they're missing out on being a part of this? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So,
and that's the thing. And if you could only afford a one-off, pick something, show them something you want, and say, right. Can you have the feel of this? But I would say be careful, because, and I'll go back to this all day. Is you're dealing with creatives. Let them be creative, right? You want their signature on it. You want something different, I know somebody else has done it.
You don't pay a roofer to tell them how to build your house.
You want it to be something. If you want it to be different, you want to really stand out, you want it to be entertaining, whatever you're marketing, let them do it their way a little bit, right? Find something that has a little bit of a feel that you like, but then give them a little bit of distance to run and make it theirs. And then when he does bring his edit back, that's when you go in and you start laying into to how to tweak it. That's easy at that point. Hey, tweak this, tweak that. Maybe add this. Then you do that. But I would say the more you can kind of give them a little bit of creative freedom, the better it's always turned out in my experience. And we've worked with 4 or 5 different type of marketing people.
Because you're always going to be your biggest critic, and that marketing creator on the outside is going to be that third idea that you probably should have listened to in the first place. Did that make any sense?
Mm-hmm. No, it does.
Yeah,
it does.
I don't know. It's just I just know I'm overcritical when I'm recording something, when I'm going to edit something. Every every
you want to take out everything.
I'll cut it out. I will cut it out, mostly because I work with the audio stuff. As you know, this podcast is going to be on audio and video, and you'll be able to tell.
It will
difference.
Now, because the first time, since he always does audio, we didn't have audio for the first episode.
Is this mic on?
So now this thing is on.
This thing is now on. But no, it's I think I ran out of juice on that thought.
It's all good. So we did talk about it in the episode that we recorded without audio, which I wanted to bring back up because I want to make this happen. Scotti mentioned that he's the best. When we mentioned ping pong, he was like, "Oh, I'm the best." We didn't even say we're good. We want to do it.
I got $100 paddle right there. That's won me a lot of lunches right there. Dude. That ping pong paddle.
Now I've seen the competitiveness. I've seen these guys on an 8-hour bus ride play Smash Brothers until their eyes bleed and fight each other. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like. But we're going to do it. So y'all stay tuned. We're definitely going to have a video coming out.
Yeah, it was fun. I got my butt kicked by some of the kids here at Campbell when I was over there.
Oh, yeah, we had your spot over in Boys Creek?
Yeah, when I had my spot over here in Booties Creek, I got my butt kicked a lot by some of the students. And I remember Daniel. Remember Daniel?
Areola or which Daniel?
This guy you were trying to get me to remember the other day, and I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So I don't know, something about you got to prove yourself to these kids a little bit in order to validate who you are.
Oh, you definitely do.
And I switched hands on him. I went from right hand to left hand one day when he came in, and he looked at me. He's like, "Did you always shoot with your left hand?" I said, "No, I didn't." I was cool with him after that.
All right, so you're probably pretty good then. All right, that's good to know.
So we'll see. So stay tuned for that video. No clue when that's going to happen. We're going to make that happen. Clear out the shop.
The shop,
have a little
yes.
Ping pong tournament.
I'm in.
So.
You in, Scotty?
I'm in. I'll be there.
All right,
All
that's
right.
a done deal. But no, I wanted to sit down and have this conversation because I feel like the business owner who's listening to it can benefit from it. The creator who's listening to it can benefit from it. Talking about working with different, especially if you want to get into athletics. If you want to get into shooting, granted, I've only shot with Campbell and only shot for one season, but I gained so much information. Oh my gosh, so much information about this industry, but also about like just shooting for events specifically. Like I was turning around stuff myself, I wasn't sending it off. We sent off a couple edits just because I was like, let's see how they do, But I was mainly turning it around myself. So my workflow completely changed. How I shot completely changed.
And you're working with different people, right? Different organizations. I mean, one being UFC Fight Pass,
Yeah.
right? We got to go out and perform in a barn and for UFC Fight. I mean, we got, 2.5 million views overnight.
Yeah.
One of the posts. Like,
Daggone.
you got to work with that. That's a completely different setup. You get there and it's a barn to working in huge arenas, to working with tournaments where you're running around to different mats in our sport. So I think just it's very diverse, and learn how to go on the fly and learn how to have quick turnarounds, I think is extremely important.
But no, I, like I said, I feel like there's a lot of different people that could benefit. So we had to make this happen. Plus, Addison's mad because we matched today, even though we didn't plan it unless you called Ashley and asked her. But we're matching, so we got to figure out what we can do because every time he sees me in Campbell stuff, he's like, dude, what is up? He's like, I got to have some Campbell
Man,
sweat.
yeah, we got to come down here. We'll keep shooting podcasts down here till I get a doggone t-shirt.
He's like, who do I have to wrestle to get a t-shirt?
Hey, y'all allowed to sue flex?
So did you wrestle, by the way? I don't think I ever asked you.
No, I never wrestled. No,
You wrestled.
I wrestled. I wrestled, and that was couch and pillows and people's elbows and not the same kind of wrestling.
But no, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to shoot the second episode of this episode with us and hung out so we can make this thing happen for everybody. So I appreciate that. And I'm going to go ahead and put it out in the atmosphere, as Tate would say, and I'm looking forward to working with y'all next season.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Good talking.
All right.
And we can cut now. Thanks, dude.